Right, here's a little sample of importing and exporting. Right, so what we're going to do is we've got some source data, this smart object here, ID, first name, last name, and salary. And then we've got our destination data, which is no ID. It's got a full name, first name, last name, salary, and a new salary field. So we want to import this data from here and output that data to there, as well as perhaps import some additional data from Excel as well, or maybe even export it to Excel as well. All right, so let's go and do that. Okay, so let's go and do the import. So I click on import data, and it'll export it. So first we need to export data. So I'm going to go to my from data. I'm going to say get me the get list method. I can first of all decide what data do I want to export. So I can go and build the inputs for the smart object call. So for example, I can go and say, you know, bring me ones where first name equals to something or last name equals to something, and I can go and do that. In my particular case, I want to bring in all the data, so I'm just going to add a blank. Right, so I hit execute. Boom. So there's the data that's been exported, as well as in CSV format. So I'm just going to go and copy this data. Now I'm going to go to the importer. I'm going to say, what are we going to import to? So we're going to import to my toData smart object. Right, for each row of we want to do a create method. All right, and it says, okay, am I importing JSON or CSV? In this case, I'm just importing some raw JSON. All right, and then you get this little mapping table, and what it says is, so the object that we're importing to doesn't have an ID. It's got a full name, first name, a bunch of details like that. So over here, we can just leave it as it is. If I go and run that, it'll then go and map first name to the imported data's first name, last name to the imported data last name, and so forth. Because first full name is actually the key, we need to have one in there. So just for the first run, I'm just simply going to go and mirror that. So first name is the imported data's first name. Full name, which doesn't exist in the exported data, I'm just going to say use the first name as well. Well, I can actually go a little bit beyond that as well, and I can go and I can do something like this. Now I'm just simply going to go and say plus, give us a little space, plus entry dot last name. So I'm going to go with that. Let's just go and run that for now. So I hit the run button. There we can see it's imported 4 items. Let's go back over here. Let's give that a refresh. And we can see Peter, Joe, Peter, Mary, and John. Joe, Peter, Mary, and John have been imported from this object into this object. All right, so that's the most basic one, even with a different type. All right, so let's go get a little bit more advanced here. So let's go and do the import again. Except for this time around, I want to do something with the salary. All right, so for the salary, we're going to get a little bit more creative here. And we need to do a little bit of calculations and things like that inside of here. So what we're going to do there is we're going to say, let's say parse float entry salary, all right? Because everything's seen as text, so we're going to convert that to a float, all right? And we're going to say to work out the new salary, we need to take the old salary minus, let's open a bracket, all right? The old salary times 0.15. So he's going to take a 50% salary cut, close brackets, and close brackets. All right, I think that's it. So let's go and run this one now. I've got too many brackets there. There we go. Let's now run that again. Okay, 4 entries again. Let's go back here and refresh that list. And there we go. We can actually see I actually did that on the salary field. Hang on, let's clear that again. Save. So that is on the salary. So I actually want that. Let's copy that. And let's put that onto the new salary. And then for salary, you just want the imported data's old salary inside there. Let's run that again. So if you give that a refresh, there we go. So we can see his old salary, and now less 15%, we can see his new salary. So that's a quick little import with a bit of data sort of manipulation taking place. So now let's go in and do something inside of Excel now. All right. So what I'm also going to do now is I'm just going to go to that that data. Let's go to our export. Sorry, let's go to our export over here. Let's go to our toData. I just want to get the information that we already got in our system. Let's execute that. So there's that information in CSV format. There we go. So that's imported our rows of information. So let's just add a Igor Jurusevich up to this one. Igor J-U-R-C-H. $100. Say 95. And what I'll do just for demo purposes is I'm just going to put a Igor 1 here, Igor 1 there. Let's see if that'll duplicate. There we go. Okay, so there's the file with all the entries in it. Alright, so let's just copy this whole thing. Let's go here, let's paste that in there. So there's a file with our headers at the top there. So quite happy with that. Let's go and run the import. Obviously the mappings, let's actually clear these mappings because that's still from our last demo. So let me just choose that, and let's go back to create. Actually, let's just save this time, because we've got ones that already exist. Otherwise, we're going to get an error that we've already got a John Spark. So what we're doing here is John Spark. We're actually going to import, but we're actually going to do a change on his over here and put his salary down to $1. Right, so we'll see that comes through. So in our main data over here, our John Spark is sitting at this amount, and we're going to say all these are going to be saved, and then your new records will be added, because that's how K2 Smart Box works. If this was SQL, obviously you'd have to do it slightly differently, but you can still do it against any backend smart object. All right, so those entries are fine because it's a one-to-one mapping. The data that we're importing is exactly the same as the data that we import the smart object we're importing to, so we don't have to touch that this time around. So let's go and run that. All right, import completed. Refresh the list now. Now you can see lots more entries inside there, including our John Spark salary being changed to $1. All right, so little tool again, interact with any smart object from here, pass in your input properties, execute it, get back a JSON payload as well as a CSV file, and then save that as a file, put it in Excel, do what you want to do with it. Be able to then, from inside of here, take as an input either the exported K2 JSON that you get from the importer. So if you're moving data from one K2 server to another, it'll be like this. But if you're importing from an Excel file, comma separated file, it'll look like that. Obviously, lots of little enhancements we can do to this. Ideally, in the future, instead of this running in a front-end capacity like it is at the moment, we could probably put this inside of the JavaScript broker, and I think that'll work very nicely as a server-side type of importing and exporting of data.